I guarantee you that Hurts is going to come out and have a much better year than he had last year. I can guarantee it. I mean, what is today? Today's the 23rd?
Yeah.
March 23rd, I'm telling you right now.
Xander, why don't you play a little bit of what Frank said yesterday on the afternoon show, the National Football Show, on Zach Pascal. He also made comments on Jalen Hurts. He also made comments on Nick Sirianni. So we asked some questions about it. And by the way, we also talked to him about Carson Wentz. I'll get your take on it a little bit here, but yeah, if you can here, here's one thing too. The Eagles made a move yesterday for Zach Pascal. Give us a little bit of a scouting report on what you think is going to bring. Obviously, Nick had to have some say in this, and probably one of his guys too when he was coaching him. Just give us a little insight on him.
Oh man, Zach, one of my favorite guys now. He's tough as nails, gritty player, really talented, excellent route runner. But with how well Philadelphia runs the football, Zach is just one of those receivers who is a force. He's going to do the dirty work. He'll block force, and he'll be the enforcer. He'll bring he brings an attitude, but make no mistake about it, he's a talented receiver as well. It crushes me in one respect that he's not going to be back here, but I understand this side of the business, and he and Nick were super close as well. So definitely a move. I'm sure Nick had a lot to say.
Your comments.
I got enough of those guys on the squad already. I got JJ Arcega-Whiteside. J-Jaw's that guy, Temple center. But I understand what he's doing. He wants to bring some familiarity to his locker room, especially in that room specifically because there's a young guys in that locker room, in that meeting room. So I get it. I really get it. But it still doesn't change the fact that I need a guy that can go out there and catch, a guy that can go out there and just totally tear a defense apart. I want somebody to be out there so good. He said, you can't cover me, and you can't cover me. You know what I'm saying? I want that type of player. So
you think this again? You're right. I mean, he's just another guy.
We have enough. Robert. I mean, Jalen Hurts is my guy, it's my friend and everything, but he's that guy. That's exactly what Jalen Hurts is. He's a guy to come in, stabilize the locker room. Everybody loves him. Team player, will do everything he can to win a game. But I want a guy that's going to go out there and just be like, all right, you cannot stop me, period, point blank, no matter what you try. I want a guy that's go out there with an attitude. Like we saw in the Super Bowl with Chase. Man, I want that type of player. I want a player to go out there and say, all right, no matter what you do, you can double coverage me, you can bracket me, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm going to get open. And that's what I need, man. I want those type of players. Because and let me start off by saying this. I want a Super Bowl with exactly the opposite. You know what I'm saying? With exactly the opposite. You look at my team that I won Super Bowl 40 with, I had Hines Ward. Hines Ward was a better pass catcher than Zach Pascal, but Hines was a force in blocking. He blocked the force. And what he meant by force is when the safety comes up in the hole or a linebacker comes up in the hole, and that's the guy that's the receiver's responsible for blocking. That's the widest guy. And it's hard trying to dig those guys out, trying to get a running lane because that's what his job. He's the force. He comes up in the running game. That's what that guy is. And if he can come dig that guy out, that's a tempo setter. But that's what Hines Ward was. Great route runner, just a nasty MFer, man. That's what Hines Ward was. Then I had Randall L. Randall L was, all right, he'd be equivalent to Smith. And then we had a speed guy, Cedric Wilson. He'd be equivalent to the other receiver, the speedy receiver. So, I mean, I understand you can win with that. But
was Antonio Holmes on that team too?
No, not that team. No,
okay.
He got drafted the next year.
Okay.
But I mean, that was our roster was the guys. We had a bunch of guys that just were great at going out and imposing their will and tempo setters. Our offensive line was nasty. We ran the ball consistently. We had thunder and lightning with Jerome Bettis and Fast Willie Parker. Tight end, we had Heath Miller, great tight end, kind of like what, Goddard is. So we had, in fact, Goddard's a better tight end than Heath Miller, a better athlete than Heath is. You know what I'm saying? They block about the same. We ran an offense that we didn't have to use Ben that year to be the guy to win the Super Bowl for us. In fact, he had a terrible game. No, not a terrible game. He had an average game that he did nothing. He did nothing in the game to really make a difference. He didn't even throw a touchdown. You know what I mean? Randall L. threw the touchdown to Hines Ward.
So
we
you
ran the ball
think that the
consistently.
Eagles just have a bunch of dudes on the team right now? You want an MFer on the team, like a Debo Samuel, guy, someone like that.
And I'm going to tell you this. You look at Atlanta. Atlanta's going to be the same way. Marcus Mariota, that's one of the most unlooked at. They're not looking at, Atlanta. Atlanta's going to be all right with Marcus Mariota. They signed out Cordero Patterson.
Yeah.
They're going to run kind of the same offense
that
we're going to run here in Philly.
Yeah.
And they're going to beat some teams up. That's what
and by the way,
up.
When you run a style like the Eagle style, you can hide a passing game that's not effective when you're doing that. Because that's kind of what you're saying there, right,
Yep,
Barrett? Is
exactly.
that you can hide not having a proficient running passing game if you're able to move the sticks.
All right,
with a mobile guy.
Or this perfect scenario. Big Seals. When you were getting the ball run on you and there was nothing you can do about it, how demoralizing. Explain to the people how demoralizing that is.
Dude, I mean, it's like having one hand tied behind your back and you're playing against Barrett and 5 Barretts and you're sitting there going, there's nothing you can do about it. When a team throws, I'd rather have a team throw for 700 yards on me than somebody run the ball for 200 yards on me, because you're never off the field and you're just getting beat up. And by the fourth quarter, you're just like this, man. I just can't wait for that 60th second to tick off because they beat the piss out of us. That's getting beat and beat up.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a tempo setter. You don't want that. I mean,
it's
that's
demoralizing.
Yeah,
when you get 200 yards rolled up on you here. Hey, also too, Frank had a comment on Jalen here, and obviously he doesn't get a chance to see him, but here's Coach Reich on Jalen Hurts.
Last 2 questions for you. If you don't mind, I mean, I don't know if this goes on the tampering line here a little bit, but just your perspective on what you see with Jalen Hurts and what you think of him as a quarterback. I mean, do you see promise in the kid? Do you see that the guy's got an opportunity at really being – I call all starting quarterbacks, Frank, so you know, elite, but then there's franchise guys.
Right.
There's certain different guys, and if you got one of the 32 jobs, you're elite to me, okay?
Right.
So just your thoughts on Jalen a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jalen is definitely elite, like you're saying. I think when I interviewed Jalen coming out, and I'm like, this guy's got all the intangibles. He's got all the intangibles. He's a leader. He works at it. The sessions that we had, like, I really put him to the test mentally when I interviewed him, and he passed with flying colors in every way mentally. We did this protection thing, and man, he just bam, 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 bam. He just spit it right back to us. Thought he saw it well in the past game. He's got a strong arm. And I think what they did this year with the slow start they had, right? And then he's the playmaker, but he's got Devontae Adams. He gets 1,000 yards receiving with Devontae Adams their first year together. So I really like Jalen's game. They're in the NFC, right? So I don't get to see them as much, Dan. So I can't evaluate, how he's working through all the progressions, that stuff. I don't watch all their tape. So, but what I've seen has been really good.
Let me tell you what I think also. I think what he meant is Devontae Smith, obviously, but there's no question that the Colts were looking at Devontae Adams because that was clearly on his mind to potentially go after Devontae Adams. By the way, I did ask Frank. They did make a call officially to the Texans, and he did say that they denied them the opportunity to talk to Deshaun. Obviously, they don't want him going to the Colts. And, you have to see that guy for the next 10 years. But just your thoughts, Barrett, on what he said. But aren't these all the things that we already know about Jalen? I mean, nothing really mind-shattering there on what he said about Hurts.
You talked about the intangibles. You're not going to have to figure out where this kid is every day. He's going to be the first guy in, the last guy to leave. He's going to lead the team the way they're supposed to be led. He's going to do all the homework he can to make sure that when it comes to the test, he can pass the test. But, we're talking about a guy that hasn't been efficient enough as a pass thrower, and that's what he's going to work on this offseason. I guarantee you that Hurts is going to come out and have a much better year than he had last year. I can guarantee it. I mean, what is today? Today's the 23rd?
Yeah.
March 23rd, I'm telling you right now, he will be more efficient in his passing. He will do the little things to make sure he's a better pass catcher. A pass thrower. He's going to make sure he does everything he can to be better than he was. Now, is that good enough to take this team to another level? We'll see. If they continue to run an offense that they're now able to do because they've run it once, I mean, for the last, 9 games, then I think they'll be very efficient. But it's the little things that, he needs to work on. Will the coach give him the opportunity to change plays up at the line of scrimmage? When he had a run play, look at the playoff game. Had a run play against that defense. They had 8.5 guys, because one guy was on teeter-tottering on the edge. There was, actually a 9th defender in the box. The safety came up. He made a lot of those plays. But when you do that, can he have the autonomy by the coach? He can't just do it himself. He's got to get the okay from the coach to say, all right, coach, since they're bringing this safety down, he's in the box. There's 8 guys in the box. Those cornerbacks have to play 10 yards off because they can't get beat for 6 over the top. Do I have the autonomy to throw out a little 8-yard out or a slant to them that's wide open, during that play? I don't think he had that ability, or did the coaches have the mindset to take advantage of those situations last year because, number one, they didn't trust Jalen. And number two, did Jalen see it? I don't know if Jalen saw it. I could see it. I'm complaining, I'm bitching and everything else. And while I'm sitting there watching it, in the meeting room, I see it. I mean, I'm like, throw the out, throw the slant, throw the comeback, throw the dig route. It's open. They're 10 yards back. It's like taking candy from a baby. But do they trust him enough to do that and change it enough? We don't know that. So at this point, that's an L for not just Jalen for not taking advantage of it, but it's also an L for the coaching staff of not seeing that and going to that.
Hey, Barrett, can you give me some insight on that? Is that more reps, or is that more film work, or both?
It's more so. It's more so film rep that you can see it. Once you see it, you can prepare for it. It's not, when you've never seen it before, and it's something, I mean, you got to admit, man, Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator.
Oh yeah, absolutely, one of the top dudes in the game.
But you got to know also that he likes to run cover 3.
Yes.
And when you run cover 3, you got to back them corners up a little bit. But it gives you the ability to keep that 8th defender in the box. You can still play coverage off of it, but it's tougher for him to do it. But he's always been that type of guy. He's always been a cover 3 guy. So if he watched film, he saw this. Of course, he's not going to make the same mistake twice. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So you can't be shamed the next year and doing the same mistakes you did. That's what's wrong with Baker Mayfield. That's why he's trying to find a new home right now. That's why he's not, the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns right now. So you have to make sure that you do the little things. I bet you he watched that film time and time again, but I bet you he won't do it again. I bet you won't get beat by that defense. And you think that you're going to take advantage of him like that. Now he's going to be like, hey, coach, we got to take advantage of it. Look how far they're playing golf out there. They're playing off 10 yards. I got to take the easy money. I mean, it's just like taking candy from a baby. And by the way, once you see that and you start taking advantage of that, best believe they're going to counter that and they're going to bring a guy up. Now you go with a sluggo route, slant and go.
But what that also does, though, to a defense, see, if I know that a kid's struggling seeing single coverage, man, that's such an advantage for the defense. But now that I know he's gotten better at reading, you're going to be more apt not to cheat to a certain side where you're not going to be able to cheat now.
Right.
Because to me, they left that guy so wide open that they were moving the entire defense the other way because he couldn't see it. And that's what Troy Aikman was saying during that broadcast. You got to get that ball out there just to be able to keep the defense a little bit honest here. I got one more clip for you here, Barrett. It's about Sirianni, and it's about Frank Reich and their relationship and what he means to him and how well he's done this year. Okay, so I want you to talk about your boy here, Nick Sirianni, because 9-8, he gets his team to the postseason, turns his kid Jalen Hurts into an alternate, Pro Bowl quarterback. I see you beaming right now. I mean, this goes on the Frank Reich coaching tree here, where you must be very proud of what you're seeing with your guy.
I mean, I love Nick. He's like a brother to me. I think he's such a good football coach. And you know, I tell people, I'm not ashamed to tell people. I tell people all the time, hey, we worked together for 6 years. It was a two-way street. You know, we taught each other a lot, and we grinded through. We put a lot of hours into developing passing games, game plans, play action, RPOs. You know, evaluating players, systems. How are we going to make the most out of play? You know, we got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears together. I think we see things very similar in the pass game and the way we see the game. And so just a real brotherhood between the two of us. It's no surprise to me, no surprise whatsoever. He's going to be a great head coach for a long time.
That's Frank Reich. They're talking about Nick Sirianni. I mean, you could see the details. Let me say this to you about Frank. Frank, if he's anything like Frank Reich, this is what he does. He doesn't just have a playbook, Barrett, where he has a playbook and all of a sudden this is what you're going to run. You know, John Gruden had a playbook. What Frank likes to do, Frank likes to tailor a playbook and a game plan and everything around that one player, and he customizes plays. This is why I think they got out to that 2-5 start, because, again, he was just running plays because he didn't know what he truly had here. And then he started designing an offense around who this guy was. That's why RPOs, if you notice, they kind of went out the building a little bit after the 2-5 started, and they started running the ball more. They started being more effective. They weren't throwing the ball down the field because, again, they don't have the talent at the Y and Z position yet. But what these guys do, these guys have been the gypsies of college football, the NFL, where they've gone to – I think Frank's had 14 different jobs before he got the head coaching job.
Absolutely.
And he's come up the ranks. And know this, he's the backup quarterback for Boomer Esiason at Maryland. He's the backup quarterback in Buffalo with Jim Kelly. He's coached guys like Rivers. He's coached guys like Andrew Luck. He's coached dudes like all these guys, man. And he brought Nick in, and that's kind of like his heir apparent. So if he's anything like Frank, I think you're right. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a better understanding of how Sirianni puts a game plan together. And on top of that, I think Sirianni's going to have a better understanding of who Jalen is.
Big Dan. Big Sis, I love it, man, because this is where I specialize. And Shizzo, that's a great question to ask, and I'm gonna answer it in a little bit, but let me answer this first. You know, he asked, you know, with Hurts having 3 years of college and now going into 3 years of NFL, you know, why hasn't he gotten better? Well, he has gotten better, and I'll explain that in a minute. But when you talk about a guy that customizes offenses, that's exactly what Frank Reich is. That's exactly what he does, and that's why they won the Super Bowl in 2017. The package that he put together for Carson was totally different from what he had for Nick Foles. I mean, absolutely just different. Because Nick Foles, when he first got drafted, when he came in, he was essentially a guy that ran RPOs. That's what he did. Not running. It was pass, run, handed off option. He wasn't going to run it, but he was going to hand it off or he was going to throw the pass. He ran that perfectly because he could read it perfectly. If there was a guy out there where he couldn't throw the pass in the throwing lane, he would hand the ball off. You know, so he understood how to run that. So he customized that offense the last 5 games for his skill set. And that's why they won the Super Bowl. It was a totally different offense from what they used to run for Wentz. Exactly different. So that's how they did it. And I know Nick Sirianni comes from that same cloth. He's come from that same cloth. He comes from the same coaching tree. So when he sees something, he wants to do the same thing. But we got to remember this. He was a rookie coach. He was a rookie coach in the aspect he was a head coach. And he was trying to please the owners. And we all know what the owner wanted to do. Mr. Lurie wanted to throw the ball. He wanted a Tom Brady-esque type of offense. He wanted to, have 500 yards passing every week, 5,000 yards a season. But that's not the skill set that he had. But he tried to please him for the most part. He tried his best. But after a while, after he went 2-5, he's like, look, hey, guys, I can't do this anymore. I got to put us in a position we can win. Because if I don't win, you're going to have me out of here anyways. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to customize it around Jalen Hurts. Let me make Jalen Hurts a better player. And he started it with the Raiders. And those first 2 possessions, they were running the ball. There's nothing they could do, nothing the Raiders could do to stop it. But their running back got hurt. So they kind of changed it up like, all right, then we got to go back to doing what we did before the RPOs, yada, 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 yada. Then that next week, I think they had Detroit. And they beat the hell out of Detroit, running the rock, using, Jalen Hurts' skill set of the run pass, not run pass option, but, the read option.
Yeah.
And then, have them take these quick passes or throwing the ball down the field after they brought the safety up into the box. And that's when they started winning games. Exactly the same thing what they're going to that, Nick Sirianni did to win games. He's going to take it into next year. And which is going to make them they're going to make a better offense. Now, everybody knows they've got the game plan. They've seen him for a year, Jalen Hurts. There's nothing new under the sun. They've stopped those type of opportunities before. They stop offenses like that before. But Hurts is the type of player that he's going to go out and he's going to evolve. Just like he evolved from the quarterback that he was with Alabama, where they just ran the ball with the read option, threw the ball every once in a while. And it was so wide open because everybody knew they were going to stop the ball. I mean, you got to remember who his running backs were.
Yeah.
I mean, that big guy down there in with the Titans, that was his running back. Now, how much passing you think he's going to do with a guy like that?
I don't need to with Derrick Henry in my backfield.
And that offensive line was an all-pro offensive line going across. So he gets, he gets the shaft. They found a better passer in the younger quarterback, so they switched up. So all right, then he took it on the chin, stayed there another year, came in, ended up winning the championship game. I mean, not the championship game, but the SEC championship game for him. Then he leaves, goes to Oklahoma. When he goes to Oklahoma, he evolved. He had to turn into a passing quarterback because that's what they did. And he became a passing quarterback. I didn't say read passing quarterback, but a passing quarterback. When you have CeeDee Lamb out there, you're going to get the ball out of your hands and get it to CeeDee Lamb. And it just so happened he didn't have to read the defense that much because CeeDee Lamb was always wide open. So it's a progression. All right, now he's turned into a throwing quarterback. He gets drafted then. Doug pigeonholed him into these gadget plays. He didn't play well until they gave him an opportunity the last 4 games. Then he played okay. I mean, he beat the Saints. He beat the Saints 2 years in a row.
Which was the number 1 ranked defense going into that game. That Dennis Allen defense was
both times.
1.
Both times. They were the number 1 defense against the run. Both times he played them. The year before last and last year. So he's going to get better as a player. You just got to get a man time. Nobody else gets an opportunity to get better and have to speed up everything as much as a quarterback, man. Quarterbacks, it's tougher for them, man, because it's always instant gratification for them.
You know what?
Always.
You know what, too, Barrett? The fundamentals when it came to him being able to build that offense around him. This goes back to when Frank Reich and Jim Kelly were in Buffalo, and they ran that Kelly gun. Everyone's looking around going like, well, Marv Levy allowed those 2 guys because if you remember right in that Kelly gun, Jim Kelly made the calls at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
And basically was the offensive coordinator. So him and Frank would look at what the defense was giving them. And what they would do is they would have, get this, situational, here it is again, situational play calling. Kelly would walk to the line of scrimmage, no huddle, and he would set the line of scrimmage. He'd set the blocking technique. He'd set everything set up. And whatever he saw, the free or strong safety, Kelly was going to start doing a game plan right there. They kind of had 25 plays every game that they wanted to run. But inside that 25 plays, it was this, Barrett. Does play 14 go here in sequence 2? Does 25 go here, maybe 1? So what these guys would do is move the chess pieces around, and Kelly would, but it was Frank and him customizing a play on the fly. That's what the K gun was called. And so Frank has taken that mentality. The best years that Phillip Rivers ever had passing the ball was when Frank Reich was his offensive coordinator.
Yep.
And you got to look too. Foles, his greatest opportunities came under Frank. Wentz. Look how great Wentz. By the way, all crap aside, now I'm not pimping it. Wentz had a good year last year, man. His numbers dictated he had it. Frank produces great numbers. By the way, real quick here too, I want to show you something here, and you tell me. I'm not going to pollute the question to you, but I want you to tell me what you think, how it came down that Wentz left Indianapolis, and tell me what your feeling is, because there's a three-headed horseman in this conversation here. The owner, Jim Irsay, Chris Ballard, the GM, and Frank Wright. I asked Frank yesterday the question, how did you land on Matt Ryan and move off of Carson Wentz? And this is what he said. Can you take us through the process and the evaluation? Again, no shade on Carson, but how did you come to that decision on moving off of Carson and looking for another opportunity for a guy like Matt Ryan?
Yeah, well, first of all, Dan, I lost you for a second there. The internet went crazy for a second, so I'll just try to piece together what I think you said. Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel about Carson. I still believe in Carson, and I think Carson's going to play a lot of good football. I think he's going to be very successful this year, and I'm pulling for him. I really am. I mean, I love the guy. Have a close relationship with him. There's a lot of. It's a very complex, right? It's always a complex situation. There's always a lot of factors that go into it. But at the end of the day, Mr. Irsay, Chris, and myself are always going to do what we think is the best move. The best move for the organization and the team. So, it was an odd situation, but I give Carson a lot of credit. First of all, it wasn't all on him. The failure that we had at the end of the season was all of us, starting with me as the head coach, our whole team. We just didn't get it done. So Carson's not the scapegoat, but sometimes things happen, and they happen for a reason. You don't always understand it, but you play the hand that you're dealt. You're not afraid of that. You make the move that you think is the right move, and that's what we did.
So I ask you now the question, who wanted him out of Indy?
There's no question that Irsay wanted him out. I mean, he didn't approve of who Carson was at the end of the day. I mean, I'm going to tell you, the GM, if he was able to get, 2 cents on a dollar for him, he'd take it. And that's exactly what he did. He took the deal. The best deal he can get was 2 first rounders. 2 third rounders. He got 2 third rounders for him. I think he made out like a fat rat. You know what I'm saying? He got more than what he thought he was going to get for him. But quarterbacks start going off the board. Once quarterbacks start going off the board, it's a quarterback frenzy, and everybody wants to get their guy. So some guys overpaid, some guys, got great deals. Well, I think that Washington got a bad deal, and the Colts got a great deal for him. They got 2 threes for him, with the possibility of it becoming one of those threes becoming a 2.
You know what, Barrett? I just don't think Frank wanted to do it, and I think Chris Ballard was the middleman, and I think Irsay was, like you said.
Exactly.
That's how I look at it. I think Irsay, after that Jaguar game, and I even said that in that interview yesterday. I go, you can't lose, Frank. You can't lose to Jacksonville with 2 wins. You just can't. I mean, especially when you think you've got a ready-made roster to win a Super Bowl, you can't lose. And Barrett, I get the Raider game. I don't get the Jags game.
No, me neither.
And then what doesn't make sense is you look at 3,650 passing yards, and I've gone over the numbers, 27-7, touchdown interceptions, and all the numbers. You're like, it just doesn't make sense. But then again, we go into situations in the game. I've never seen a quarterback shit the bed more in my life in critical situation. I'm Barrett, I can't believe some of the – it's like he'll play great. He'll play great for 68 plays, 2 of the worst plays of the year in history. And you just go, God dang it, guy. How
and that's what it is.
Are you seeing that?
Right, exactly. How do you try to throw with your left hand and your right handed in a game in the red zone or in the defense's red zone, and you throw a touchdown, man? I mean, his mistakes aren't just a fumble here. His mistakes are just crazy nonsense type of mistakes. The mistakes that you just can't afford to do. Like, what were you looking at? What was I mean? I it always sticks out of my head when I sit back and I think about Carson's the Dallas game we're playing, and the offensive coordinator guessed wrong. They called the play in which they thought that Dallas was going to blitz, and when they thought they were going to blitz, they put in a max protection. It was a play action, max protection. You know, it wasn't necessarily trying to be a run fake, but they just wanted everybody in a solid protection to block. Both tight ends were blocking, the running back was blocking, and everybody, the two receivers went on a route. Well, they guessed wrong. It ended up being coverage. So they dropped everybody. They only rushed 4 guys, and they dropped everybody. So both receivers were double coverage and triple coverage. So, like, you got to live to fight today. Just throw the ball out of bounds. What does he do? He tries to play hero ball, rolls out to his left. And when he's rolling out to his left, he sees his tight end, Dallas Goedert, break open and try to go for a pass play. Well, by that time, the defensive linebacker had rushed him, you know, and came and ended up being a sack fumble when all he had to do was just throw the ball away.
Absolutely.
Ended up being a sack fumble, and then they go in to score. I mean, those are the nonsense type of plays that I saw Carson do that just didn't make sense.
It boggles the mind here. All right, so obviously there's news out there now that Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs have not been able to come to an extension. And I've told everyone, when you sign a guy to a $500 million contract, this is going to be the collateral damage.
Yep.
However, he's been given permission to seek a trade. You really wait, let's do it on the other side. I also have another suggestion on what the Eagles should do at quarterback. By the way, it's got nothing to do with getting rid of Hurts, but I have a suggestion. I want to hit on all this. He's Barrett Brooks. I'm Dan Cilio. Here on the middle, back in 3.